My name is Matthias Stürmer. I'm from the University of Bern, and I would like to present you the next project. It's about sustainable public procurement. And as many of you have created acronyms for their projects, we also created one. It's called SUPER. And so let's talk about SUPER now. Why public procurement? So first of all, for us, the one key thing is that it's a very huge volume of procurement every year. So in Switzerland only, there are 40 billion Swiss francs every year that Swiss government, but also other public agencies procure every year. And if you look at the amount that the European Union procures annually, it's 2.3 trillion. And on a global basis, it's $9.7 trillion public procurement per year. So that's a huge volume, and that's, I think, it's very interesting to look at. Second, we think public procurement is interesting because it's very broad. It covers not only construction, but also it covers every technical things which are procured. It covers textiles, it covers food, it covers transportation, vehicles, and so on. So it's completely cross-sectoral, which is procured. So that's, I think, another important reason why public procurement is interesting to look at. Third thing is that it has a high attention on a political level, on a public level. So every time public agencies invest money into public procurement, so there's the journalists who ask, and so that's why it covers, it's often covered by national media as well. Fourth reason, there's a legislation. On an international level, the WTO has issued the Government Procurement Agreement 2012, the GPA. So that's what most of the countries have nowadays actually accepted, ratified in their national legislation. And then there's also the Swiss legislation, which is currently discussing in the parliament the new procurement law, which is maybe going to be started in 2019, but it has a very important part in it, also on the international level, but also in the Swiss version. So sustainability is a very core goal of whole procurement in Switzerland, and that's why we think sustainability and public procurement is interesting to look at as well. So it's not just economically, but also ecologically and socially important topic. And fifth reason, there is a new training issued by the Swiss National Agency on SPFI, I don't know the English abbreviation, but anyway, so there's a Fachausweis, eidgenössischer Fachausweis on public procurement, and we are also already now offering courses, and we think that whenever you have results on sustainability, it helps actually spreading this knowledge into the new procurement training, which is going to be, I think, mostly mandatory on much public level. What data do we, or what are the goals of our project? So we basically want to look at the status quo of sustainable public procurement in Switzerland. So that's why we look at the CIMAP platform, where all public procurements are published nowadays. And second, we want to develop new ecological and social criteria on what level these sustainability goals, sustainable development goals also, or the global reporting initiative, how can these criteria be implemented in new public procurements? And that's where actually we can actually make it, it's important that the criteria are also legally correct, because there's a very strong regulation, what is allowed and what not. And it needs to be accepted also by the practitioners. So we have in contact with public procurement officers, which actually need to test and then in the end implement these criteria. One example, nowadays it's already allowed to procure sustainably. So there is one example in Zermatt, which obviously has some restriction on public transportation, so they don't allow cars in Zermatt, as you might know, but they actually issued a 2010 a tender which they wanted to procure a new recycling system, and they had criteria 30% of weight on sustainability, and so that's why actually they were able to do a 10-year contract, a long-term contract with a company, providing electric cars to collect the waste. And only one little example of this municipality, it saves 60,000 liters of diesel every year because this criteria was implemented. Now the data part, I think that's a very important part for our project. As of today, we have over 50,000 public tenders, which are published on the CIMAT platform, which we can analyze. And there is public agencies, almost 3,000 different agencies in Switzerland who are doing public procurement. So it's not just the government, but also every transportation company who is owned publicly, or all schools, or all universities, many of the hospitals and electricity companies. They also need to follow the procurement law. So that's why there are lots of different public procurement agencies. But this is only the tip of the iceberg, these texts on CIMAT. So that's why we started also to download the documents and actually make some preliminary statistics about these public procurement numbers. We'll use a lot of different technology tools which are displayed here. So that's what our main interest lies in. But our team is very interdisciplinary. We have Peter Seele from Lugano and Federica from Lugano. Sebastian is the PhD student. Myself and Eva are from University of Bern. And we have also project partners which are coming from the federal government, from the cantonal government, for NGOs, and also from the court, which are involved in this. And that's why we think we're looking forward for next few years, and thanks.